Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to be talking about the 5th book in the Goodreads Choice Awards challenge that I am doing. So basically here is the thing, is I chose 5 select categories and I must read a winner that year to satisfy them, right? Whatever they are. Asterisk, I can choose not to do it for whatever reason, not to read that book. If I decide to do that, then I have to do either one of two things. Go in the same category up to 2 years back and read a book in that category, or read another book that won the same year just from a different category. There we go. There's also a second rule that is very important to mention here. If I have not read the first book in a series or a book in the series before whatever winner it is, I will read the next book I can, not the actual book that won. Hear me out. So basically ACOTAR is probably going to come out 2026 and it will probably be the winner for 2026 romantasy. Let's be honest here, so Maas has not lost when she has put a book out. So if that is the case, I have not read Ness's book. So instead of reading the 2026 winner, because I have not read Silver Flames, that would satisfy the category instead of going all the way to the winner. So those are 2 rules I'm going to come and play here. Now, before I went on my writing challenge, I grabbed a book from the library, Wayward. I read 1 page, actually I didn't even read 1 page, and I went, this is not for me, actually, and I put it down. Now, Wayward came out a little bit ago. Sorry, I jumped ahead. So, Alchemized was the winner of the debut category. I decided I was not going to read Alchemized, and so obviously a rule had to be enacted. Now, I didn't tell anyone which one of the 2 categories I was going to be doing. Either same category, and Wayward would have satisfied that for debut. But then I went, no, and I was just thinking, and I forgot that I had Onyx Storm on hold on my library. Completely forgot about that. Anyways, I started doing writing, and I realized I plotted so much. Guys, I plotted so much for book 2 and on. My brain really was demanding rest and a break from it. To the point I went, okay, no burnout. Burnout is harder to get over than actually just taking the break that my body is demanding. So let me get back into reading. And a couple days after I decided to do that, guess what audiobook came back? Because I accidentally missed it, and I had to ask to re-get it back and re-go back on Libby. If you miss your hold, it basically is suspended, and then when you unsuspend it, you have the opportunity to basically have Libby put you at the front of the line. That's what I had them do. A couple days after they gave me Onyx Storm. What is this video for? Of course, Onyx Storm. Now you might be like, I needed romantasy. Yeah, and I read Iron Flame to satisfy the romantasy section. If you're like, what do you mean? Also, it was very important that you had the audiobook, because I did not read this copy. This copy was only here for me to see how many pages I had left and to track it. Now, you bought this book. No. I bought this book over a year ago. And I didn't know I would be listening to the audiobook instead of this one. So, we are here to talk about Onyx Storm, and also in relation to this satisfying the 2025 Goodreads Choice winners, because this book not only won romantasy, but also won audiobook. Now, I gave V.E. Schwab's Buried Bones in Midnight Soil a lot of crap. You can go and watch that video of warning for DV. I do specifically put the timestamps that trigger was for. But I gave this book crap because I do think the only reason why this book won fantasy is because of the author. I can say, after reading this book, I think the only reason this book won is because of the series name. This book is a whole bunch of absolute nothing, where every main important character has plot armor, and you know what? I'll say it. I thought someone should have died. But we'll get into that when we get into the spoiler sections. Let's get into the audiobook. So I have listened to the audiobook for Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm now, so I have listened to the whole thing in audio. First time I read Fourth Wing, I read it physically, and then if you remember, I did Iron Flame, and also I will say it was both reading and immersion. Not that that matters, because audiobooks are reading. So that was the second book. Then I went back to the first book, and I used the audiobook for Fourth Wing. Come back, here we are. So I listened to a lot of audiobooks. I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't the best audiobook. Like, especially compared to the other audiobooks, there were multiple times that I thought that the narrator for Violet changed. Now, maybe that didn't happen if it was the same person. However, something happened to make the audio not cohesive. And no, it's not just because of chapter to then chapter and then, no, like, there was just a section of it of, like, this sounds like a different narrator. No tea, no shade. I'm not saying it was a bad audiobook. I'm saying, as audiobooks go, Iron Flame and Fourth Wing were a better audiobook than Onyx Storm. So, with that alone, I do think that it won the audiobook section simply because of the name of the book. Not because people actually love the audiobook better than everyone else, better than all the other audiobooks. As someone who frequently listens to audiobooks, no tea, no shade, I am saying it's not the best that even this series has produced. Honestly, Iron Flame is a better audiobook than Onyx Storm. Now, spoilers, let's get into the book. Because a lot of my criticisms of this book is why I think that this book only won because it's book 3 in a series. This book has so much plot armor for the main cast. She fakes out killing members of the important people, and then goes and kills people we don't care about. You know, the whole thing with Quinn, that was very sad. I had to go, who's Quinn? Oh wait, she had a love interest? And before I hear, well, maybe it was so long ago. No, we could have said that with Fourth Wing before I reread it. I read all these books pretty recently and pretty close together. So I'm like, who? I'm an owl. Now, I'm not saying that she couldn't have been there. I'm saying there was no character. She was not important to Violet. Now I understand if it's like, well, that's because they weren't really friends. And it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you have a first-person POV, or actually I think it's third POV. First-person POV, I shouldn't have doubted myself. So that's what happens when you have a first-person POV, is if they're not important, or the main character doesn't think about them, or whatever, we don't get emotionally attached. And if someone says, well, I got emotionally attached, I love that for you. What I'm simply pointing out is she had multiple opportunities to kill main cast members or cast members that had been there since book 1 and decided not to. She protected them and killed a rival that I think was introduced in book 2, but if not, then in book 3. The only Griffin rival that is actually important to the plot that would actually be is Kat, because she's the only important Griffin rival. And you're also telling me in this dangerous thing that we're going aisle to aisle, getting an army, only one of your cast members dies? And they're not even important. And also knowing that you have 2 almost fake outs. I almost thought, oh my gosh, the chef's gonna kill Riddick. And I was gonna give her that. I was gonna be like, dang. Yeah. Here we are. Consequences. Nope. Okay, well we have Gaelic. I believe that's how, I don't know. You have his name. But you have this guy who's being poisoned. This guy who's the only other guy that would take down Xaden if he gets bad. And then you would make it solely on Violet, on her shoulders. She's the only one who could. And then he lives. Nothing comes of the mother that I didn't even realize was alive. I thought the mom was dead. Like, nothing comes of Xaden's mother. Okay. Like, as soon as she was introduced, or put on the thing, and they're like, oh, they look similar, I went, oh, okay, so we're doing the traditional family thing. Of being like, oh my gosh, Mom? But like, this time I did think that she was dead. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's a reveal. And then it's like, no, he just was abandoned. Now, that's probably on me. That was probably in 4th grade when I played, and I just, like, didn't pick it up. However, nothing came of it. Your Honor, she included a whole bunch of scenes that didn't matter to any context of the story because they didn't get anything out of it. Oh, but we showed character because she was willing to let them die. She was willing to send a dragon to do it, though. But also when it came down to it, would she really? She offloaded that heinous act to a dragon that would. Right. Whole thing of, let's go find the 7th whole thing and then they can help us. And they go, nope. Nope, and there's no cure. I'm like, okay, maybe there's actual consequences here. What happens? 7th, one from the 7th breed comes, does a whole ward thing, but takes a dragon. Oh no, separation, bond, broken, blah, 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 blah. What happens? She immediately gets her signet back after a bit of twilight, new moon, depression time. After that, she gets her signet back. And then, in the end, the dragon does come back. So, okay. Consequences, they are none. Let's go to Mira. I was like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it, or does she have plot armor? And I'm also like, you guys are bad writers. You guys are really bad writers, because only one of y'all could have healed her. Y'all are rivals. You guys are fighters. You're not gonna take to your dragons and go fight. You're gonna all stand around and watch as maybe she gets healed and maybe she doesn't. Now, if you're like, well, Violet, that was her sister, okay. She also couldn't do anything. She did not take this guy and potentially avenge her sister. Oh, that's not who they were waiting for. I don't care. Fun fact. When you have it in your story that there are no consequences, no consequences to your actions unless you're, not one of the main cast members, and you give everyone heavy plot armor unless you decide that they're gonna die, like they did, like what she did with Leon, because the second time around you can tell he was made to die. Right. So, yeah. With that plot armor, Take to the Skies, Book 3. Yes, I, at Book 3, expect the main character of a war series to actually maybe have that mindset. And when she was like, but I don't want to put Taryn in a situation of, like, fighting something bigger than Coda, yeah, Taryn be like, yes! Let's do this! I will get this! Over here. Now, I will say, I do like that we went to different idols. Got to see their bond. And specifically, the fact that Violet is alone in her not want for bloodlust. like truly. Because, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Let me be clear here. When I'm saying this, I specifically mean everyone is okay with their dragons going into combat. Everyone is okay with either doing an assist or a kill. Everyone is okay with actually fighting, but whole. None of them acted like a idol. Maybe I'm just used to House of the Dragon, and it's like, no, you don your dragon, and you're gonna go. And you're gonna go. But they didn't do that, and then Mira was fine, and she was alive. Oh, and she was separated from her dragon. Oh no, oh no. Didn't matter. It didn't matter that she was separated from Taryn. Because the girl came and did it. Saved her. And then she was with Taryn. Oh, they fell out of the sky, and oh no, they're coming back, and it didn't matter. And it didn't matter. I hope she turned that in. Maybe at least there will be consequences. Maybe there will be consequences. Oh no, the only consequence is her autonomy being taken away from her, and allegedly it was her choice. You asked me to take your memories from you. Okay, and I asked you to give them back to me. Consent can be revoked. You have a dragon, I have a dragon. One of my dragons are sleeping right now, but I still have one. How fast do you think your dragon can get here before mine incarcerates you? Dracarys. I need to finish this book today. Let's also get into it. It's Chekhov's gun. It was introduced in the first book of it being like, people might want to envy you because, like, your dragon is you're connected to your dragon. And because of that. But also, how we're going to protect you is you are connected to Taryn, right? That's your bond. But Taryn is mated and bonded to Sigil. And she has a rival, Xaden. So Xaden is going to protect you because he knows if you die, he will die through a domino effect. It's Chekhov's gun of it being like, oh, well, if he turns venom, then they're gonna have to kill Violet. Domino effect. How is that Chekhov's gun? Because you loaded the gun. You made the gun in Fourth Wing. Onyx Storm, you said it explicitly. So if this does not end with that plan coming through, then the gun will never go off. And we can say whether or not that this is an evulsion of it. Like, like, okay, an example. If you see a pregnant person in a movie or a TV show, the expectation is at some point during that movie or TV show that pregnant person will give birth to their baby. There we go, right there, right? That is an expectation because we see a pregnant person, especially if they are like very close to label. A time that this was hopelessly not done and was done well was Train to Busan. I should have said spoilers. But that is an example of Chekhov's gun not going off and it being done well, right? But that is also an example. If you see a pregnant person, usually by the end of the movie or TV show, they will give birth. An example, spoilers, is The Walking Dead. Specifically the game, but I do believe the TV show has this. In one of the seasons, you have someone who is pregnant. And then, by the end, they give birth to AJ. And then you have to take care of the baby in the game. But that is an example of Chekhov's gun. So in this, she sets things up and has no motive or interest in any playthrough for literally anything. We are in book 3. I'm going to Markiplier Puppy Playtime, 5? This, he says he'll give you a couple of books. Not books, a couple of games to figure out things. I don't do that with books. Book 1, okay. Book 2, with Iron Flame, I was like, pick it up. When we are at book 3, the 5 or more plus series, yes, I expect things to actually matter. Because nothing in this book matters. We have nothing to add besides that the love interest is now Venom. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. This is romantasy. So romance is part of this genre and expectation. Unless we want to take out the romance part of it, in romance in the genre, there is an expectation, a genre expectation. If you are in romantasy, you must have happily ever after or happily for now. If this is romantasy, and you want to say that this is part romance, there is going to be a happily ever after or a happy for now. I didn't make this rule. And no, I don't just know this rule because I was in doing writing stuff. I knew this beforehand. You know why? Because I read romance. There's a reason why it's one of the categories that I am reading. I read romantasy. I read fantasy, but just not in that category because that was not a category that we had. So, the idea that the main love interest and the only love interest is not going to end up with her makes this not a romantasy. So, there will be a happily ever after or a happy for now at the end of the book. Keeping that in mind, besides him going more extreme, what else was done in this book that makes the plot of this book advance past book 1 and book 2? Oh my gosh, she's a duchess? There we are. We end the book with Hope becoming a duchess that we don't even know she consented to. Yeah. Because she can't remember it. So we have to go off of the world of someone who is his ally. We have to go off the world who will choose him before she chooses her. And also, are we forgetting the fact that if she is not pregnant, it doesn't matter? Like, she can't have a kid, like, she can't. If, in line of succession, if he is dead, she is the Dowager Duchess. And the second in line, instead of the second in line, that becomes the first in line. And she'll become Dowager. Unless she has a kid, she cannot continue it. She'll have no station, and she'll have no status besides what the new Duke would have her to have. That is what happens. Now, would he probably take care of her? Yes. Also, we were talking about how he left her with the mess of probably treason by multiple counts to deal with. Thank you, Zayden, so much. If you're thinking I'm being overly harsh, this is coming from the frustration of nothing has happened, and this book amounts to absolutely nothing. I read a 500-page book of where there was no payoff, all the plot armor you can ever possibly imagine, and at least with Wheel of Time, it's explained why they have plot armor, and it's a part of the plot why they have plot armor. And this, we're expected to be like, this is a nothing sandwich, and here's my predictions for book 4. She's pregnant. Cheyenne, why would you say she's pregnant? Because I think that part of this is taking Violet's autonomy away from her to the fullest extent that they possibly can, because that's been happening since book 1. Now, I also want to be clear. With this is not an attack to the author. It is not saying I think that this author has a vendetta against Violet being independent. I do think that this is a narrative choice of, throughout these books, her autonomy is being taken away more and more and more. And I'm saying I think that this would be the final thing. Now, I am not saying that people who are pregnant have absolutely no autonomy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying in this case, the people in this story would use her pregnancy because she's a duchess, and they would basically make it so she can't do anything out of risk of it harming the child, which happened a lot and happens a lot in these types of books that have royalty stuff in, and it happened in history, and it happens in a lot of historical romances and historical pieces. So I think that's what we might be expecting to see. Either in book 4 he will be healed, and then book 5 big bad, I guess. Also, I should say about this, I wonder who the next enemy, the monster of the book, is going to be, because every single monster was killed. I gave this book a 2.5. And I'd be like, that's kind of how I still enjoyed it. It was a nothing sandwich, and everything I ranted about makes this go down. But like, that's like pretty decent for me. Like, I think 3 stars is like pretty good. Like that. I usually don't give 5 stars out, and I know I say that, but on this channel, I have given 5 stars out, but I usually don't do that. Like, that is actually very rare for me, and I'm very shocked that my first year doing all of this, I have had 2 5 stars, actually, but 3 is, like, the good part. So, this is my thoughts and feelings on Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Yeah, it definitely won romantasy and audiobook, specifically only because it was book 3 in a series.